my name is Jan Moody and I work at Edulastic. I am joined here today with Jen Lee, and we're interviewing her as part of our Edulastic Innovator Spotlight series. We're really excited to have you here today, Jen, so thank you for taking the time to join us. To start off, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I've been teaching chemistry at the college level for about 8.5 years and at the high school level for about 5 years.
That's awesome. What do you love most about teaching chemistry?
Well, I love explaining the way the world works. When students make the connection between I've always noticed this phenomenon happening and I never knew why, or I never really cared why, and now suddenly it makes sense. Then they're like, oh, like today they learned why Band-Aid, glue won't come off your arm and how to get it off.
Huh.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because it's non-polar and water's polar and you need to use a non-polar, dissolves so you need to use non-polar solvent to get it off, some sort of oil, baby oil, mineral oil, it doesn't matter, any kind of oil, olive oil will work.
Cool.
And it just dissolves right off. Yeah. So they learned that today and they're like, oh. So I love making real life connections to things that they've always known. They just didn't really know why. And now they have more insight.
Yeah, that's really great. I think that would be really helpful as somebody who kind of struggled in chemistry. That would have been, those real life connections or something that are valuable. So how long have you been using technology in your classroom?
I have used technology from the very first day I stepped into the classroom. I love technology, and these students today, even college age students, even high school age students, they're immersed in technology all day long. So instead of trying to fight them on it and being like, don't use technology, not in my classroom, we're going to go back to the old paper and just use it and let them, enjoy it. There's so much available with technology, and there's so many different kinds of tools available, and there's so many different, I could just imagine my teachers used to write on the blackboard for everything. There wasn't even PowerPoint yet. And so just technology is it makes everything so available and so much more intuitive, and you can see things in visual. It's just so great that I think that it should be used every day whenever possible.
I totally agree. It makes it really more engaging for the students.
Mm-hmm.
And so what about Edulastic? When did you discover Edulastic, and when did you start using that?
I think I discovered Edulastic in my first real year of teaching after my student teaching year. I had read some sort of magazine article or blog post or something, and it was listed as one of the best tools. And I was like, better check that out. So I did, and I was hooked right away. Right away, I started using Edulastic constantly. I love the real time data that it gives me as my students are in front of me taking an assessment. I can see that they're answering questions. I can see who's stuck. I can see this one's getting all red ones. I can see that sort of thing. I don't necessarily use it that much in the high school classroom right now. I use it mostly in college, especially for online classes, for online lab classes. So that's where my focus has been lately.
Cool. That was actually my next question was, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about how you use Edulastic with your online chem labs.
Sure. So the students currently go out onto a virtual lab software that where the lab doors open up and it's really cute, and there's a chem lab, and they perform an experiment, and they're directed. They have a lab procedure just like they would in a real lab, and they can actually mess stuff up. They can make stuff explode. You put the wrong thing in the garbage can, it will catch on fire. And so they just do the experiment according to the instructions, and then when they're done, the assessment of that is in Edulastic. And so that's what I create. I've been creating, the lab software came with some sort of assessment, but it wasn't nearly as cool as Edulastic. So I was like, we're going to use this. So I changed the college to use that instead. And so we've written all of our online labs in Edulastic. We're actually probably going to be changing from a virtual lab software into where they're going to buy a kit, and actually do the lab in front of them, but we'll still use Edulastic for the assessment portion, because we still need to ask them questions and ascertain whether they understood and, get their data and things like that. So yeah. And I'd be happy to share with you one of the assessments that I do use so that you can see how the labs work.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see it.
So this is the one of the questions, I mean, like the very first question is always like, what's the purpose? And that's kind of boring to look at. But in the second question here, I need the students in every lab. This is only like lab 3 of the whole semester. So in every lab, pretty much, I need them to show me their work. And that's sometimes a challenge to do in like the computer, because you're writing equations and stuff, but Edulastic has all that built in conveniently. But the students don't necessarily know how to use it. So I recorded a short little video in YouTube about how to use the math editor in Edulastic, like what buttons to actually click on and things like that. And so it's like a little short video. You can see my little face there, and then like when you play it, like it actually plays, and it's embedded right into this thing. And it's only 3 minutes and 52 seconds. It's not a long video, but it just helps them understand how they're supposed to show the work and what they're supposed to do. Because I used to get people trying to use their mouse to write the work out, and it didn't work. So once they watch that video that's embedded right in there, they can then write this expression that I have on the screen using the fraction tool and everything, so that I know that they know how to do it. And that's just a pretty easy question. I'm just making sure that they watch the video and they know how to use it, so that when they get to a question where they need to show their work, they can actually do it. And we'll share the link to that video later, so that you guys can all see that video and you can use it if you want to. Other questions that I have in here are mostly just tables, and I love using Edulastic for this sort of thing because it's so pretty. I mean, I could use Word or something, but that's not nearly as great as something like this, where they can't really edit anything except what's in the boxes, and they can type into the boxes, and everything's very pretty. It looks beautiful when you make assessments in Edulastic. And Edulastic has these tables built right into the software, and it's great. So there's tables, and they calculate stuff, and as you can see, I use symbols and equations within it, everything. There's another equation, and we have various questions that they have to answer. And then they're doing another trial here. They're doing another thing. So here's another table, and they're saying this is like their results. And you're like, okay, so you've calculated everything. Here's some known ones. Which one do you think is your unknown? Like which one and why? And then they would have to answer why. So it's not just necessarily like numbers and math. This one is a 38-second video that it just has no sound. It's a really cute little video, but it's a demonstration from the American Association of Chemistry Teachers. And it's pretty much you can see the copper wire in there, and they're putting it in boiling water, and it's boiling, and it's been there for a while. And so then they take the copper wire out and they hold it in their hands suddenly. And the question is this real? Is it staged? Why, if it's real, how is that possible? Why are they not getting burned? Or like, what's going on? And so they need to watch the video, internalize what they've learned in this lab, and then explain. And then we have, other questions about like, why is the water cool, but the sand is super hot, and things like that. We always have a question at the end like this that certifies that it's my own work, so that they don't, because we have had instances where the students copy from each other, but where they're certifying it. So we just add a question like that at the end, and they get full credit on that one if they say true. So that's pretty much what it looks like. That's how most of our labs are structured. And they all are a little bit different because we have different data and different kinds of questions and different kinds of explanations. But I thought this was a pretty good example to show.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that was really awesome. I love how easily you're able to put the equations right into Edulastic.
Perfect. Yes, it is very easy to do that because Edulastic has the equation editor tool like built into like every screen. You can put equations anywhere you want, which is very cool. You can't even do that in Google Slides. So, it's amazing.
Nice. Awesome. I'm so happy to hear how much you enjoy using it. What kind of feedback do you get from your students, from your college students who are using Edulastic to answer their lab questions?
Well, the students generally like it because they feel like it's intuitive. They know how to use it. They know what to do. They know where to put the data. They don't really get necessarily real-time feedback on the labs because they all submit it by like a certain due date, and then I'll go through and grade them. And most of the questions are like manually graded because there's so many explain type of questions. Mm-hmm. But when they do get their grades back, maybe a couple of days later, they'll see all of my comments in there. So some of them I have like default comments that I'll put in, but other ones I'll actually write like a whole bunch of stuff, like why this is not quite right, or you were on the right track, but you didn't quite get there. And they'll see where they got partial credit and where they got full credit and why, and all my comments. So they do appreciate that. I mean, some of them have like sometimes I forget to turn it on where they can see their questions, and they're like, I can't see your comments. Where's your comments? And so they really like that feature, that where I can put personalized feedback for every answer for every student. That's really, really nice.
Awesome. Yeah. And how many college classes are you teaching versus how many high school classes?
Okay, so each semester, because I'm doing both, it's kind of a lot, right? So
yeah, it seems like so much. That's really amazing.
Usually per semester, I only teach maybe 1 to 2 college classes. During the summer, maybe 2 or 3, depending. Oh, cool. But during like high school, I am teaching 6 full classes of like 25 kids. So I mean, that's like a lot of students. And that's why I try to do the college thing kind of part-time. But then I also am in the background, besides teaching the classes and doing this, I'm like writing all the lab assessments and designing their labs. So it's like a lot more work than just teaching it. So yeah, I try to limit it to 1 to 2 a semester.
Yeah, totally. That seems overwhelming, but really meaningful work for sure. And so then lastly, what are your future goals as an educator?
Well, I'm not really 100% sure on that. I think that I really just want to stay in the classroom. I mean, I really only became an educator maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and I got into teaching because I really loved making the connections with the students and having them understand why this is important and how it's important and how this all works. And I feel like, if I were to go into administration or something, I would lose that. I would lose that connection with the students. And I really, really enjoy that. I mean, one of the most rewarding parts about teaching is getting a yearbook at the end of the year and having students write comments in it. Like people that you would have never expected to, to have anything really to say at all will write the most like heartfelt, warming, and you're like, oh my God. So I don't ever want to lose that. If I did choose something else to do besides like actually be in the classroom, it would probably be along the lines of educational technology, because I'm so passionate about all sorts of educational technology that I think it just it should benefit everyone. And a lot of people are afraid of it right now. So one way or the other, I definitely want to keep a connection.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jen. I really enjoyed talking to you, and thank you so much for showing us that assessment.
No problem. Thanks so much.